Hey guys, welcome back to AnimeInkArt Live Talks. We were just here yesterday, well now we're back again. Thank you guys so much for coming back on the show. For those that may not know what this show is about, this is AnimeInkArt Live Talks, where we talk with different creators in the community about their journey in content creation and how we can support each other better in the community. So before we get into our special guests and introduce them, let's just get a few more people on here. We just go to our different socials and invite people. But yeah, definitely. I hope guys had a good start to the week. I know Monday is not always like the best to get back into, but you got it. This is the best you can do with that. But today we have very special guest, JBaldwinArt. So they're an amazing, illustrator, concept artist. They also know how to do logos. They do website and graphic design as well. You may have seen them from the last time I was on last time we had the whole group on the show. Via Midnight Comics, they had created a story called Into the Abyss, but they also have their own comic that they're creating called Horizon. And yeah, they're definitely a multi-talented, artist. And they've done everything from comic books. They've worked on other concept art for other people's comic books, and as well as they've done work for video games as well. So definitely, let's get them on the show and let's get it started. Hello.
Hey guys. Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. That was a great intro.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I need to clip that. That was great.
I'm glad because I'm like, oh boy, I hope I said everything right.
I'll put that as my ringtone.
How was your weekend? How was today?
My day's been great. How was my weekend? I spent the weekend cleaning out the garage, straightening up the patio. The weather's getting warm, so I'm in Wisconsin, for those that don't know. So the weather's getting nice and warm, so it's time to put out the plants and do all the yard work that people do that have a yard. My yard's tiny. I could jump across my yard, and I'm 5'5", 5'6", so it doesn't take much. But, yeah, my weekend was good. And then today, what did I do today? I drew. I'm working on a project with a fellow colleague from Midnight Comics, Into the Abyss, Brandon Manga. Oh, and Chad Singleton's on that as well. So I worked on that today, and then wrote. Yeah, because I'm writing a limited series for Horizon. So yeah, I wrote. I did a lot of writing today. How about you?
Yeah, for me, I was doing stuff from yesterday. I have to make some content for tomorrow, so I have it on time. I went to work, and then I had my doctor's appointment, and then I was setting up for this, and also just checking certain things because I have certain things coming up in June. But I also have to deal with somebody wanted some stuff for commissions and stuff, so I'm just figuring out how to do that after the show. But the main thing is making sure I did some research when I could, on my way transiting and coming back. So yeah, that's how the day went.
Yeah. So you're a mixed media artist, but you're doing something else full time, or
Oh yeah. So I would say this is what I do on the side, with AnimeInkArt and everything that I'm doing. But full time, I work as a lab tech. I work at a wastewater treatment plant. So that's my full time job. And then I come and I try to do whatever I can. What I can.
That's what's up. Yeah, I'm curious by nature, so I could sit here and just talk about waste treatment for the rest of this. I'm serious.
I know.
I'm so serious.
Yeah, for people that don't know who you are, introduce yourself and what you do.
So I'm Josh Baldwin. My online moniker is JBaldwinArt. It's also a business. I have an LLC under that where I do graphic design, web design, concept art, illustration, and pretty much just anything that is creative that people require for money, right? Because it's hard to be an artist, it's hard to be creative and earn a living at it. So when I first started out, I tried just doing the fun stuff, the suits, the armors. But then when after a year or so, when I started my business, I'm like, I need to broaden my approach because I'm just not getting enough clients with the fun stuff. So I do everything, and I love switching it up. It's nice to go from to drawing and painting to strictly logo design, where I'm not really using the fine motor skills. Yeah, I like it a lot. I like the diversity in which I built up in my tool set.
That's awesome. And like before, like we'll take it back to before you even started the business. What got you into art? You do all different types of forms of, art. And
Yeah.
what was the first thing you delved into when it came to art, and what inspired you to do that?
I think like a lot of people, like crayons and markers, like back in like, second grade, first grade,
Yeah.
whatever. And I used to always remember like having to do like I'm gonna create this guy with a red shirt and blue jeans, and it's gonna be the best drawing anybody's ever seen. And then I would say the same thing the next year, the next year, the next year. And it was just everyone colors in school. It's not like a huge thing. And like a lot of kids will have like encyclopedias for like comic books or your favorite movie. I'm 30. I was born in '95, so I grew up with the prequels, like the Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah.
So I had all the toys and stuff. I like Alien. I grew up in the '90s and early 2000s, so I had a familiarity with a lot of cool art without really knowing it. But then in seventh grade, my mom bought me the All-Star Batman and Robin by Jim Lee and Frank Miller, and that kind of changed my. There's a particular panel in there that Jim Lee drew. Scott Williams inked it. I don't know who colored it. But anyway, Batman's kicking a cop through a windshield, and you can see every shard of glass. You can see the blood come out the cop's nostril. It's just the panel's insane, and it kind of like opened my eyes, like like all these like encyclopedias and all these toys and stuff that I have. Like there's depth behind that, and so then I was like, oh, what are other comics out there? Then I got Watchmen, which was a social and political commentary on the Vietnam era in the '60s and superheroes, and that rocked my world. And so I kind of went that route and mainly stuck with DC Comics, then opened up to Marvel and Image and Dynamite and some of the rest. And from there, going into high school, I kind of decided, okay, I'm going to pursue art. I'm going to pursue drawing. Also, I looked up Jim Lee's page rate and realized how much he was making per issue. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like bad money, which at the time it was about $800 or something like that per issue, which isn't bad money per se. Excuse me. But yeah, going into high school, I decided to focus on drawing and painting and pottery. And then I decided to do an art program for college, which was just a dumpster fire. I went to the Art Institute of Wisconsin, which I don't know if anyone's familiar with those schools, but they don't exist anymore. I went. They didn't have half the software or even the hardware that they said they did when I did the tour. A lot of the teachers were checked out. It just wasn't a great experience. Not everyone has that experience.
Yeah.
But it shut down. And so when they announced that the school was closing down, people were just leaving in droves, and it's like, okay, well, I got this debt to pay back now, so I might as well, join the full-time workforce. And so I've been working odd jobs since. And then that was 2015, 2016, and then I started my business in 2018.
Okay, I see. Yeah, that's definitely, they don't talk about that enough sometimes when it comes to like the art schools, like the ones that don't exist like that anymore, like how that affects, the artists that went to that school. And like you technically, in order to survive, you kind of have to go out there and get the experience because,
Right.
But I'm glad that you figured it out because you're here now and you're doing multiple things. So,
well, I wouldn't say I figured it out, but
no, but you know what I mean. Like, you didn't let it keep you down. Like at that point, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I got you. It is, and you're a fellow artist and creative, and you also work full time. So it's like I can appreciate like the quote unquote grind of having something more than just. Like, so I don't have a full-time role currently. I have a part-time role, like where I porter for like, helping out with like black car service. So, like if you're rich, you order a limousine or a black car service or something, like I'm there supporting that staff and that crew. But then my other part-time role is my business. So, but I mean, I've been full-time up until 2023. And so like I can appreciate those people that are working hard at a full-time job, then get off and take their creative energy and funnel it right into their business or their hobby or whatever it might be.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to say, what inspired you to finally create the LLC where you do so many different things, from graphic design, visual illustration, concept art for multiple different artistic avenues?
Well, I guess I always wanted. Um, so since learning about Jim Lee, the aforementioned topic, I always wanted to make money doing art. In high school, I kind of went through this phase of like learning about concept art, primarily two artists named Ash Thorpe and Dan Luvisi.
Mm-hmm.
And so after learning about them and kind of, okay, like if I'm a concept artist, I can work in comics, I can work in film, I can work in the automotive industry, like pretty much I can make chairs, like everything requires some form of iteration and ideation to get to the final form, right? And so that in and of itself is like, okay, if I can get paid to do that, that'll be great. And how do I get there? So I was working with a Milwaukee-based studio called 2035 Studios in 2015 for about a year, and I felt like great people, have nothing against them. Excuse me. I felt like I wasn't really being utilized there as an illustrator. And so from there, I then started a business with my brother, and he's a filmmaker. So he directs, he writes. His handle is Director Baldwin for those interested or want to see the kind of work that he does. And so he would do the film aspect, and then I would do the concept art behind the scenes. And so I led a very small but concept art team there. We were doing work for a larger property that would eventually make it to film or like an online show. And we kind of overextended our budget. It didn't go as planned, which to those that are maybe struggling with any creative endeavor, there's a quote that I like by Dan Levisi that says, if your ship goes down, just build a stronger ship and sail back out. So when that ship went down, I'm like, okay, I took those lessons that I learned and I said, okay, if I'm going to do this, what am I good at? And what could I see myself doing 10 years from now? No matter what, wherever I'm living, if I'm in a relationship, if I'm single, if I have kids, if I'm not, like, what does that look like? And I settled on concept art, and I settled on just a freelance concept artist. And I needed a tax identification number. And so a LegalZoom ad got me. And before you know it, I was, I had a business, and it didn't make pretty much any money, like, I guess, that I could pay my bills with, really until 2022, I would say, which I think is, normal for businesses. If you start and doesn't really turn a profit for a while.
No, yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And something that I always like to know, like, how multifaceted people are and like their interests and everything like that. I also saw that you were a naturalist at Earth One. So for those who may not know what that is, and I thought it was pretty cool when I saw some of the pictures and everything like that when it came to like the marine and like the biology of everything and like the naturescapes and everything. So I wanted to ask, what got you into that?
Excuse me. I was always the kid that likes bugs. That's the easiest way to say it. In every class, there's a kid who likes bugs, and I was that kid. And eventually, I got to the point where I'm like, you're a kid in class, and there's a wasp flying around, and people are trying to swat it. My heart was secretly be breaking, like, leave it alone, like, leave it alone. But in adulthood, it's like, I don't care. You know what I mean? If my car's being worked on and there's a bug in the building, I'm on my hands and knees trying to get the bug. If there's a snake that crawls through a party, I'm grabbing the snake. That's just how I am now.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating because, like, people turn on like the BBC, like, David Attenborough, any Planet Earth, any documentary, and see all these amazing worlds, all these animals and stuff, and they go step on a roach, and that's outside. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like the animal's minding its business. Yeah. And it's like, I breed maybe 5 different species of roach, and it's like most cockroaches aren't pests, right? They're like really beautiful, sensitive creatures, and they have their own worlds, and some of them sleep. Do they dream? I don't know, but like they're interesting creatures, and I build these ecosystems to house these animals, and it kind of creates like a hierarchy from the apex predator in the ecosystem down to what they call the detritivores, which are like the bottom that break down all the stuff and create waste for the plants to then take up those nutrients, and the cycle just restarts. So yeah, I've always been interested in bugs. Just as an adult, I can read a book on the science of how things are working, and then try to implement that on a smaller scale.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And it's pretty cool to learn about like the company and what they do, because it seems really interesting as well.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything outside of like podcasting and art, and then like your full-time role? Like, is there something else that you have?
For like a short period of time before I started AnimeInkArt, I used to do spoken word poetry. Now I haven't been able to do it much because doing all of this takes time, and sometimes that the writer's block when you do so many things. So that's what I was doing before. Gotcha. Not every now and again now, because I used to dance as well. I used to do ballet, tap, jazz, and a point. So I used to do Zumba for a little bit. I still do Zumba here and there when I can, and I like do the classes. I kind of want to go back to be an instructor, but I do like to dance as well. So
nice. I saw. Yeah, you do cosplay and you dance, and yeah. It's awesome. For people think all black people can dance, and it's not true. So anytime I see someone where like it all connects, it's like, man, that's dope.
And I also wanted to talk about your project, the Horizon, and for people that may not know what it's about.
Horizon is what is Horizon? Horizon is it's a historical fiction that follows American special operators and Middle Eastern insurgents during the Cold War, which is really a front for a spiritual war between Islam, Christianity, and then technology. So it's like a dichotomy between like the master and slave relationship, but like with a heavy emphasis on technology and an alternate history. So like the story takes place between 1920 and 1966, if that gives any context to those listening.
No, yeah, that's pretty interesting. And I wanted to ask, because it's like based on that premise, it's an alternate, but it's like based on things that's happened. What was like the process or research that went into the story for you to have an idea of how you wanted to like build the technology in the world, or like the characters and everything like that?
I think it came pretty naturally. I guess it's not a secret. So like the story has a lot of AI in it. I don't use AI in my work, but in the sense of like there's artificial intelligence in the world, and I guess so. Like the original idea was, what if AI gets introduced much earlier, like much earlier, which then kind of just. I love history. I'm a history nerd. I love podcasts and history. I love reading books on history. I love historical movies. I love reading articles, and for like FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, so you can read up on our government's black operations and stuff that at the time that they didn't want you to know about. You can send a request and they can publish some of what actually occurred. And so I love history, and if you just read some of that, so I guess let me make this less abstract. So I had this story where you introduce AI, and then I said, okay, what happens with that? So I spent like 3 to 6 months making a timeline, and I just grabbed every event from soybeans are farmed for the first time to events in World War II, just making a timeline from as far back as I could find to modern history. And it was there was just a ton of stuff. And then I said, okay, now what will be relevant to the 20th century and then the Cold War in reference to AI? And so then that was easy. Started, process of elimination. And then I had this core group of events, and I'm like, well, let me color code these in a sense of hierarchy, right? Like what you don't need to hear about, I don't know, Jimi Hendrix being born, right? That's not really gonna help the story very much. Yeah. But so then I those go on the bottom, and then at the top you get these large events. And then when I start assessing how that would go if AI was introduced, this is where the fiction comes in. Let's say if it got introduced in the 1920s or earlier, then it's like, okay, well, this would never happen, right? Because we have more access to information. Because right now you can just I mean, it works differently than how we have AI now, but let's just say you had Google in the 1920s. How would that revolutionize so much? And then it's like with segregation, it's like, okay, if you want to maintain segregation in the 1920s, then you have to then have a foothold on Google, right? Because if Google is saying that if Google is putting out unbiased information, just telling you the facts, you'll see that there's nothing wrong with Black people. So then segregation will just fall apart. But instead, it's like the organization that keeps the hierarchy in place then has to lie to the citizens, and that's where you get like the master and then the slaves being the populace, right? But then people enlist into the military, right, and go on these missions overseas, believing that they have some sense of onus in themselves, which I understand. So on my dad's side, pretty much everyone is either serving or is a veteran. I love my country. I love the United States. I really love the United States military, despite whatever's going on at the moment. But there is a sense that politicians lie for financial gain, right? Or an agenda that is not for them or maybe somebody else. So it's like, you look everywhere, it becomes a master and slave kind of dichotomy. It's like I'm ranting. So like, I guess to make the answer short is the process of interjecting AI into history and creating an alternate history from our own timeline was organic. Because if you add something, other stuff just naturally degrades. I really don't know how else to say it.
No, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. I feel like everybody has something where they've already like delved into it, so it makes it a little bit easier when you finally want to like go into like the actual concept itself. So it makes total sense.
So because if you're running if I'm confusing anybody, if you're running straight and someone puts a wall there, right, blocks the street, well then you got to make a left or a right, and that's where in Horizon you get these divergent divergent history, right? And so a big event that doesn't happen is if you put AI in the 20th century or in the early 1900s, I'm almost positive World War II never happens. It just wouldn't happen.
You got a point there. Yeah, you got a point there. Like if you think about it, definitely.
There's also some other stuff that happens, and right now where I'm at in the phase of the book is I'm currently still writing, and then once I'm done writing, I have some editors lined up that I'd like to get that ready and sent to them by the end of the year. And so if anything changes, I don't want to reveal too many plot points because if something changes, I don't want to have to renege on what I'm saying.
Oh no, it makes sense, and you've been busy with so many different things, so many different projects, and then on top of that, you now work for Midnight Comics. So for people that may not know how you ended up, being an intern for them and now working with them, to do like illustration and like concept art for their different, for different stories either to come or that already exist. How did you get the opportunity, and how has it been being able to do the concept art for them? Because you continue to do it even after Into the Abyss.
So I do want to clarify. So I'm not currently with Midnight Comics.
Okay.
I did do the internship for the 2 years that it was running. The way I got invested with them is, as a business owner, it's kind of important just to reach out to businesses or companies that you want to work with, because like if you're not going to advocate for your work or your skills, then it's like, who will? So if you see a company out there that you're like, oh, they're dope, or they produce great work, or I believe that I could be a positive attribute to what they're creating, like my skills can support their business or their stories, just reach out. You never know. Excuse me. You never know what could come of that. And so I reached out. They said, hey, we're running this internship in a few months. Feel free to apply. So I did, and I got in. Working with them was a lot of fun. I've been on teams before, but not. So there were two. So the first half of Midnight Comics, the internship, was the concept art that I did for I don't recall if they want me to say or not, but 2 titles, and then maybe 3, and then after that, the second half was creating, like, getting us to have a published work under our name, which my team's was called Into the Abyss, which is actually right here. For those, Ronnie Crates did the cover. And so the concept art portion is fairly familiar with it. I get a brief. Sometimes it's detailed, sometimes not. On this time, it wasn't very detailed. They had exactly what they wanted in fairly clear, concise terms. I did that. And then the second half of the internship was the comic book, which was a lot of fun. I hadn't been on a team where we maintained such close communication for so long. Typically, in my experience, it's you have communication with someone for the initiation of the project, and then maybe the conclusion, or maybe if you have some questions throughout the process, where you want to collaborate, like, hey, what did you do with that armor, or can I use that logo pack that you used? But never just throughout the whole process, passing things back and forth for months, which was a lot of fun because you meet interesting people, and a lot of times we're all busy with life and with our creative endeavors, and it's cool to stay in contact with these guys. Joe saw they're all, I can name every single one of them. They all have a very positive. They've all left a very positive mark on me as an artist and as a human being, and I'm still working with all of them in some way, shape, or form. I guess except for Ronnie. He's busy. He's got a whole comic book company. He's doing his own thing in left field. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And also, I saw that you were brought on as a concept artist for another title by Clash Jack, Badia's Gambit. You helped with like the mech suit and everything like that. So how did you get the opportunity, and how was it to work on that project?
Man, so I met Jack Harris. I met Lloyd, one of the co-owners of Midnight Comics at DreamCon as well. But I met Jack Harris at DreamCon.
Yeah.
And so he's one of my. I love most of the work that I do for most people.
Yeah.
Right. But when I saw Terminusville, oh man, I'm gonna butcher their. So the artists that are working on. The artists that have worked on Terminusville and then are working on his next project, or I think at least some of it, Gangland, Demon Time. They're working for Marvel, right? These are, and they've worked for DC. These are very talented individuals. And as an artist, like those guys, I look up to them creatively, artistically, which I think is important to have artists that you still aspire to, even if you're still a professional, working professional. So I was passing his booth and saw the work, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like this is amazing, right? And so I was talking to his wife, and then I was talking to him, and he was at the bathroom at the time. So when he came back, then we chopped it up. But, I fell in love with the IP first. I fell in love with Terminusville first before me and Jack were even colleagues. Before I guess he was technically my boss. But so I guess what I'm saying is I'm proud to have produced the work that I produced for those properties. And from there, I went on to develop. So we got in contact there that year, and this was 2023. I ended up developing the Guardian Shield and the Sonic Glove for him. And then in 2024, I did the mech suit, which I'll be posting sometime this season. I'm terrible with posting, which a lot of people are these days. But so that was it. From then on, he said he was making, a new property, Gangland, Demon Time, and I don't recall if he reached out or if I reached out, but I recently completed some work with fantasy work for him for that.
That's awesome. And also, I wanted to ask about how you got the opportunity to work for Faction Battlegrounds, because they're like a fantasy, combat, game. How has it been, because it looks like you've been able to create so many different characters and worlds, through working with them, and how did you get the opportunity?
So Jason Creighton is the co-creator of Factions. He's also the art director on the game. For those that don't know, Factions is it's a action fantasy tabletop strategy game. So it's a mouthful, but if you love playing tabletop games, I've seen several people play this game. I was there at DreamCon supporting the game. it's dope. Like it's a lot of fun, and more than that, it's taking like real cultures and investing the lore, or the real culture, the lore behind the culture, into fictional spaces and developing an entirely fantastical race of people, several of them for you to play with. And so myself and a bunch of other talented artists had the pleasure of developing some of those factions. And then I went on to work with the game for a few years after that. So Jason was my high school teacher. I knew his mother in childhood. She was like the aftercare person. But Jason was my high school art teacher. And so from there, post high school, he was my mentor. And so when he created factions, he was like, hey man, like I got this project I'm developing. I need some artwork done. Would you be interested in doing it? This is the rate that I'm willing on paying you. I was like, at the time, I'm like, yeah, paid work for designing characters and building illustrations. Like, yeah, let's go. And so that's how I got started with Jason. And the first contract I signed with him was in 2019. And so I worked on factions mostly, it was technically on and off, but almost consecutively from 2019 all the way until like January, February of 2024. So like factions has been like a huge blessing to my career, because it's like it got me comfortable meeting deadlines, it got me comfortable working in a team setting, it got me comfortable using different software, it got me comfortable working with references, it helped me understand like paying structure and reading through contracts. And then in that whole space, I mean, anyone can go to my website JBaldwinArt.com and go to the factions page. You can see the growth right from the beginning with the illustrations all the way to the visual development and concept art. And I mean, I hope everyone has a project in their creative journey that really pushes them to the next level. For a lot of artists, there's multiple iterations of that. And that was like my first real crucible to take me from a hobbyist in art to a full-time professional.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome, because I feel like definitely that opportunity, there's so much you can do, especially with like a game like that, and like the possibilities are endless, especially with somebody having like different worlds and like different creatures and characters. So I think that's pretty cool that you got to do that. And I wanted to ask about the sketch dumps. I saw that those were like in betweens from like when you're doing your project. What inspired you to start the sketch dumps and like share it on your page, and like you have it on the website as well?
So my first sketch dump was 2017. At that time, I was working at Meraki Creative Studios, the one that failed with my brother. And so I was so busy. I had a full-time job at a factory at the time. So, I'd go work 8 hours a day, sometimes overtime. Then I'd come home and I'd draw and paint for another 2-3 hours. And I felt like, okay, I'm not really doing anything for me. Like I'm doing the business work. I'm doing, I'm allocating shipments on a forklift. Like I'm doing these other things, and I'm not really feeding my own creative soul. So I'm like, I need to do something where I'm just drawing, not thinking. I'll put on a movie and just vibe out drawing. And so that's how the sketch dumps began. And so, I mean, you can kind of, I don't think I have them anywhere with the years attached per se, at least not all of them, but I'll typically do more of them on the years where I'm not getting a lot of paid work. And then on the years where I have a lot of paid work, I'm not doing them as often, or vice versa. When I have work, I'm not doing them as much. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just do them when I have time. If I do a cool sketch, off to the side or something, I might scan it in. I mean, you do mixed media, and I'll scan it in and draw over it. Or if I'm doing client work and I take a break and I come back and I work, and then there's not enough time before I've got to stop working. If I got to go do something with the family or something, then I'll say, okay, well, I got 20 minutes. I can do a quick sketch or something. And all the sketches that I'm like, I like it. It's okay. I'll just add into a sketch dump. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that definitely makes sense. And also, I wanted to ask, what was gonna ask? 1 second.
You good?
But I was gonna ask, when it comes to your characters and like just making different things, what is like your favorite thing when it comes to concept art to make?
Originally, I would have said sci-fi. So like it is sci-fi. Like I love making like hard surface materials, like 2D.
Mm-hmm.
So like in like Ridley Scott's Alien, like the original. I mean, I guess they all kind of have this.
Mm-hmm.
And James Cameron's Avatar has this too. Like you look at the walls in a spaceship, and it looks like every compartment, like every latch has a purpose. Like you sit in a chair and they buckle themselves in, or like sometimes they'll tighten a strap. They put the headset on, they hit some switches. I love that. Like I love that so much. I just rewind and then you watch that again. So like taking that type of the thought of okay, well like form follows function, which is like to me like a golden principle, and applying it to like suits and armor, like that is my bread and butter. And which Horizon is also kind of a love letter to concept art, because since the story takes place from the 20s to the 60s, even though there is some sci-fi, there's a heavy sci-fi influence, it's still the stuff is still old, right? Like there's still 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s cars, buildings, architecture, attire. But it's like, okay, if there is something that's sci-fi, it's like, how does it fit into this world? And then how would it work? And it's like trying to plan that out with taking my own personal experiences, taking physical references, and then combining those things. And sometimes it just takes exploration, which anyone that follows my career, or for those that are new, you can take a look at my Instagram or my website. I love doing thumbnails. I did 1,000 melee weapons for Horizon just to see what options were out there. There are artists that will do like a solid 6 to 12, and I love those people. God bless you. I don't have the mind for that. I just don't have it. Yeah. I'm like, when you go to a museum and you need to see every exhibit, I gotta open up every door. I gotta see what's in every room, because my mind just doesn't work that way. So if I have 100 references, I gotta look at every reference and say, I like that screw. What happens if I put that screw on A1, 2, and A16? And I'll add that screw. And so for me, it's sci-fi, but having worked with factions for so long, you can still take that logic and apply it to fantasy. You can take it and apply it to something that happened centuries ago, because like you look back at, if you Google like, what underwear did knights wear? Because you have to have something. I'm assuming, by the way, right? I don't know. I'm not. I don't know.
No, you're fine. No.
I'd imagine you need something that doesn't chafe, something that's easily cleaned, right? Something that maybe provides some protection. I don't know. So it's like you take those principles in, and then you design from there, right? And that's that's not sci-fi. That's the opposite of sci-fi. If you were going to design an amoeba, right, with a face, it's like, how would you, without going full Pixar, like how would an amoeba emotions? Like how would you get an amoeba to have a face and give some type of emotion without giving it just these giant ass eyes and this crazy mouth, like it's some kind of caricature? Like I'm serious. Like if you're creating something that's serious, not for children. And so I would say sci-fi, but then it's like if you do sci-fi for a year, it's like I could do an amoeba. I wouldn't be mad at an amoeba.
No, I definitely understand.
What's your favorite genre to work in?
I would say like the same thing, like sci-fi, like I would say like sci-fi, horror. I kind of want to get into drawing more horror there, like, because when I used to do Inktober, that's sometimes you would be able to do like things like that depending on what the prompt is. But the other good thing about like horror is that if you leave it black and white, nobody really cares. Because I like black and white, like that's my preference. But I had to learn how. I feel like I'm still learning to like accept doing color more. Because when I used to draw before AnimeInkArt, I like doing like black and white. Like if I could do like just comic and magna panels, like with the shading and everything like that, that's my favorite thing. So if horror is like, people like that, like even if you have like a black and white drawing, sometimes people prefer that because you get to see all the different details and stuff like that. So that would be something that I would like to do more. So
it's dope. I mean, I'm a fan. I like black and white. So
Yeah, cause like I remember like different monsters or like skulls and stuff like that, and I might do that just for a design, just because to see all the detail. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
cause sometimes with the black and white, you get to see more detail. You get to see detail in
yeah,
color, but I feel like sometimes with that black and white, you really you can have fun with it. If that
yeah.
makes
I get you.
sense.
It's also it can be challenging to because if you have color, it's easier to like show form.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and it's like when you do black and white, there's less value to make. It's just two. It's just two. So
yeah.
you know, I mean, I commend people who stick with black and white or who are strong in like that monochrome palette. So I mean, yeah, more power to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I know that you also do, some graphic design work and everything, like from logos to websites. So for those that may not know, because I did see a few things like the food sense was one that I saw, and there's a few other projects that you've done. So for those that may not know about that part of your background.
Yeah. So before I actually had a business, you know, I was doing a lot of like freelance odd jobs for people, and which typically was a tattoo design, which I don't do anymore, or or graphic design.
Yeah.
And I mean, so I don't post most of the graphic design I do because it's a lot of it's just not it's work, right? It's just, you know, you're doing a logo for a business or a t-shirt company or an entrepreneur that is starting a business or a t-shirt company or whatever it is, you know, UI designs, just whatever. And it's fun, it's engaging. I enjoy doing it because it does break up the monotony sometimes of concept art or illustration. And it doesn't require, in my opinion, it doesn't require the amount of research that concept art takes. Or it might just be that I invest more time into research for concept. That's probably what it is.
Mm.
But the ones that I have on my website, FootSense, let me see, FootSense.
Mm-hmm.
I did the concept or the graphic design for Into the Abyss. Hood Honey's on there. My zip code's on there, and then my naturalist page, Earth One, I did the logo for that. But for a lot of like the pamphlets and stuff I do, I don't really post those. But if anyone has any graphic design work that they need completed, feel free to reach out. The rates aren't as high as concept art because there's just not as much required. But I do take the same process with ideation. You know, I create a few different versions, and I kind of check those closets to see, okay, well, which one is working and which one isn't, and then come up with the finished product. But graphic design is it's slept on because like one of my favorite things to do, which on my Instagram, I don't know if it's still up there. I don't know. Do you mind pulling it up?
Yeah.
There's a
let me see if I can share the screen. Let's see. All right, so Instagram share. Because I always have like a extra page just in case. So go down or up to find that.
So you're gonna go down. I can send it to you too.
Okay.
Just to make it easier.
Yeah.
Let me do that. I just sent it to you.
All right. So okay. Oh, I remember this one.
So this is a really close. It's a crop. Like this is a landscape environment photo, right? So behind it's on a wall. There's a sign nailed to a wall, and then there's like a battlefield behind it, and it's on a bullet riddled concrete wall. And it's for my graphic novel, my limited series. So that design that you see there, that's a graphic design. I created that in Illustrator, and then I painted over it. You know, once you have the vector for it, right, you can increase the size to as big as you want for anything or as small as you want for anything. The only thing that changes is the legibility. And so I can take that design and throw it into any illustration, bend it, warp it, and it's mine. And so something that I love doing with Horizon is being able to say, you know, if someone goes to the beach and there's a sign saying, you know, mines in the water, don't enter. I just create that whole, you know, panel for that sign in Illustrator, and I can add it into a scene, even if it's small into the background. You know, I've created flags and business logos and because these things, like when you're bringing a property into existence, whether that be real or fictional, like the properties still apply, right? So like if you're creating a comic book company and you're like, I need a logo for a comic book company, I think that same logic in building that logo for that client to the same thing as to a fictional aerospace company in Horizon that makes, jets or airplanes. And it's a lot of fun. Like I said, it does break up the monotony. And I worked in a pre-press department for 4 years full time. And for those that aren't familiar, that's like your Tabasco logo. I'm in Wisconsin, so a lot of beer, a lot of cannabis, a lot of cheese. Like those logos, someone needs to format all of that, do the designs and stuff for the big industrial printers. And so I did that for 4 years, which, don't get me wrong, my graphic design skills were great beforehand, but going through that, I mean, working in Illustrator for 8 to 9 hours a day, it definitely upgraded at least the way that I perceive graphic design, and then obviously increased my skills and efficiency.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome. And thanks for letting us see that, because like that's pretty cool that like you can use your skills for like your promotions for different things. Like you said, it's underrated because in this day and age when you have to promote yourself and like your stories and that, it's nice that you already have those skills and you don't have to use how some people use the AI. Like we have Canva. I don't know why you're using AI. Right.
Yeah.
That's besides the point.
Yeah, it bugs me sometimes, because it's like it's only because it's not only because a large part is because I'm out here investing a lot of time and energy into designs, reading, I'll pull up an article and read through 10 pages to understand how a gear works for something that isn't even in the real world, you know what I mean? And it's like someone just puts in a prompt. I will admit though, AI is great for like, I'll use chat every now and again for like I needed to know the diameter for grenades in World War II.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna spend 3 hours trying to figure out if this is whatever I'm reading is real or not. So I grabbed those diameters for some 3D modeling in Blender and just called it a day. But that's very different from prompting like a full image.
Yeah, but it's like a full image, but like a flyer.
I'm not gonna call anybody out, but I know you know who you are.
Because I've seen the posts where people are like complaining about it, but they're just like, because Canva like specifically states that it's for the people that are not graphic designers. So it's like you have these apps at your disposal. Why do you need?
Right. I'm with you.
Yeah, but also one of the questions I asked you probably know from the last time is about supporting the blurred community. I asked, what have we done well to support each other? What can we do better to continue to do that and go in the right direction with that? Because everybody has different experiences based on their individual journeys within the blurred community.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Oh yeah. So what do we do well so far in the blurred community, and what can we do better in terms of like supporting each other, uplifting each other? Everybody has a different answer to this question because they have different experiences, within the community.
Yeah. What can? I would say pay artists.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's huge, right? Like, don't expect handouts from artists either, right? Because even as an artist, like I'm not gonna draw Horizon. I'm gonna do the concept art, and then I'm gonna hand it off to other artists to draw it, paint it, letter it. One, because I want to support other artists, and two, because I that's a lot of time to sit and draw, hundreds and hundreds of pages. But so I would say okay, one, don't have the expectation that you're going to get work for free, and with the lack of that expectation, pay artists. Two, if you can't afford to purchase, like let's say you go to a con, you can't afford to buy a comic book or something else, share their profile, share their page, If you have like a more marketing based platform, take their information, see what resonates with you, share that out, so it's not just a blanket like, hey guys, look at them. Like, actually, what about them is interesting? Was interesting to you, right? Like, 'cause I think something that turns me off is like in the social media age that we're in, it's like we're constantly sharing other people's stuff, but it's like I rarely understand why someone is gravitating towards a certain thing. But when you meet someone in person, it's like you get that instantly because you're physically communicating with someone. You can see what they enjoy about something or someone. I would also say to support Black artists and nerd community. Oh, don't request a quote just for the hell of it. Don't do that. Don't stop that.
Exactly.
Stop it. Like, God, like, for those that don't know, if you request a quote or a contract, it's not just putting something together. That is 3 to 6 hours of work for me to make sure that I'm looking at your competition, looking at the market, the industry you're working in, to make sure that I'm actually fairly quoting for you and myself, because I have to buy groceries, right? So asking for fun, if you're asking for fun or for something for 5 years from now, just make it known. Like, hey, I don't have my budget fulfilled, but I am curious as to how much it would be for X, Y, and Z. But don't just say, hey, I love your work. I'm interested in your services. How much would it be for this? Because then I'm thinking, oh, this person's ready to go. Like, that's all right. Yeah. Don't do that. Just say, hey, be fully transparent and upfront, because it's fair to both of us, and that way it doesn't leave a bad taste on either party. Because like I love letting people know, okay, like this is what it takes to hire me, right? Because I don't want people coming in with unfair expectations, and nor do I want to provide an estimate to someone, and then they're like, oh, I won't be able to like ever afford you, because I want to be able to work with people that enjoy my work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say those things. Just be pragmatic about it in your approach.
No, yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Thanks for sharing, especially the quote, and like don't inquire about like a commission or a quote and then you're not serious about it, because like all that work.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, yeah, you can't go. Like, sometimes I think about like if I was like a plumber or like a mechanic, like when I like some of the experiences I've had, would it be the same? Would it be the same thing? I don't know.
Yeah. No, yeah, I understand. Sometimes you just question it. You're like, "Would this happen?" It's like,
yeah, right, yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, what do you do? I guess what do you focus on to support other people in the blurred community?
So I would say, the show has been a great help in that, from what people have told me, even though sometimes I don't realize that sometimes because it's part of my content. But, just giving your platform in some capacity, to just uplift people that you think are doing good things and everything like that. So for me, doing the show has kind of helped in that, to where, like, if it's somebody I think is like good and I want them to share more about the story, like I reach out. Like, it's not just like the open calls. Like, sometimes I've like, especially in the beginning and even every once in a while, like if I think their work is really good, I reach out to them. And then the same thing, it's like, it doesn't matter the follower count, because some people have came on the show and like they were worried at first because of their follower count, but I'm like, I don't like, I've had 100, I've had 87, like I've had like from 87 all the way to like 100K. Like, I haven't had big, you get what I'm saying? But still, like 100, some people is big, or like Ozzy the virus is big, but then like in between and everything like that. And then just in general, like with people that I already, like love and support, like I make sure to share their stuff when I see it, and post it. Or if I come across new people, I try to see and I post it. And when it comes to people that's been on the show, because it's a lot of people I realize that have been on the show in the past 3 years. It's been over 150.
It's crazy.
So it's
That's crazy.
it is crazy because people make the joke saying that I interview a lot of people, or like one person in a Discord group that I'm in called the Hidden Dream Village. Like they've been on the show and they call me like the Oprah Winfrey of the Blur community. They say like I've interviewed a lot of people, but you don't realize until it was last year and like the year before, I wanted to do like a recap of all the people that I've had on the show, and that's what I did.
Okay.
And I realized that it reached over 150 because the year before was like 75 to 80, and then it reached just about the same amount or a little bit more last year. So I was like, oh okay, and then and that's like minus repeat guests.
Okay. Yeah, that's every time I open up YouTube, it's most I guess Instagram too, but more YouTube. Yeah, you're right there.
Yeah.
It is always somewhat different.
I appreciate that. I guess the algorithm's working for now because I just started, doing the YouTube, but it helps that I, go live more than once. So we'll see where that goes because I have a goal of hitting 500 whenever that happens. Currently, we're on at 138 since we started doing it more frequently in around the time that I did the 5 with you guys for Into the Abyss, because that was the first time I really got to use it properly. So since November to now, we went from 25 to 100 and almost 140. So we'll see where it goes.
Gotcha. I love your show. I mean, it's dope. I'll typically watch a few clips out of the. I don't catch all of them because you just gut them out. I don't know who's keeping up. It's crazy.
Sometimes I have to keep up with myself, but the form is what helps me. Like if it wasn't for the form, I wouldn't be able to keep up, and that's why I created the form. Because once I figured out that because people like the idea and everything like that, I said there's no way I'm doing a Google Doc anymore, because when somebody gets a show, I would have to cross it off. But you have to remember to cross it off if you just do a Google Doc. So at some point, calendar-based form had to happen. So
gotcha. Yeah, smart. It works.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to ask, what are some of the goals that you have for yourself? It can be long-term, short-term, whatever you want to share.
Jesus. I would like to make 6 figures doing art. That would be nice.
Yeah.
I think that's probably everyone's dream, is to just do something they love and make a lot of money at it, or at least enough money to take a vacation every now and again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd make more money doing art. That would be one. But Horizon is really definitely a huge goal, because it's not. I really don't think it's like a lot of projects because of its real world counterparts. When I started writing Horizon, because it's gone through a few iterations. I wrote a short story which turned into Horizon back in 2018.
Okay.
Back then, AI wasn't a household name other than in fiction. Russia wasn't at war with Ukraine. We weren't at war with Iran. There's been several coups that have happened since. Just some of the things that are in the story have transpired in real life, and those are real people. And it's not lost on me that in Horizon, there's a war in Iran. I wrote that last summer. And it's here I am writing fiction about real people dying, and then now it's a reality. So I have to go back and make sure that I'm taking, because if an Iranian reads that, I have to take that into account and be responsible for whatever. So giving that the proper focus and attention, and making sure that with all the cultures that I have in the book, that it is fairly representing them without dragging them through poorly dragging them through a lens that they didn't want to be dragged through. To not go on another tangent, getting Horizon done, finished on some bookshelf, mine first, right? Just to prove to myself that I can do something this big and go from start to finish and get it out there. Will be a tremendous success for me. Other than that, really just take one day at a time. I think a lot of artists are just trying to take it one day at a time. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. And I'm excited for whenever Horizon comes out. It's definitely gonna be a great project. I know you're putting a lot of work into it. So
I do want to say in closing, like if for those interested in learning more about the project, you can head to my website, and at the bottom of every page, there's an email subscriber form. So fill that out and stay tuned.
yeah, definitely. So the last question I was gonna ask is, how has this journey that you've been on? How has it helped you as a person?
Oh man, it's helped me be more patient and apathetic, empathetic.
Yeah.
It's helped me, man. It's helped me relate to
Yeah.
other people more.
Yeah.
Like I talked to someone. I don't know if they did your job, but I did speak with someone that maybe had your job, and I was at a wedding, and we talked
Mm.
the whole evening because it was fascinating. Like people like
Mm.
you keeps our society running, and it's
Yeah.
like not only is that interesting, it's like if I was designing, I don't know, infrastructure on an alien world, you need waste management, you need water
Yeah.
treatment. It's like, so not only is talking to you is interesting, because you're an interesting person, and the stuff that you do both creatively and non-creatively is very interesting. But your life can also not just use you as a tool, but it can fuel
Yeah.
like the work, right? So I think just learning about other cultures, learning about different technology, and just reading. Like the more you read, the more you travel. I think you just get a better understanding of where you are and where your place is, spiritually and yeah, maybe I don't know. Yeah, well, mentally. You get a sense of where you are in relation to the world.
No, yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And again, it was a pleasure having you. Hopefully, you had a good time.
I did. Yeah, this was fun. And it was good to learn more about you.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking the questions. Every once in a while, somebody asks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would like to ask more, but I might just send you a bunch of questions. I am curious. The water treatment. I'm so serious. I want to know more.
Oh yeah, yeah, no problem. Before we get off, basically, like I know there's different types when it comes to the wastewater, but we're environmental monitoring, so we do the same type of tests every single day. But there's like certain
Okay.
parameters that like the lab is qualified to do. So that's like what we do in the lab. So
Gotcha.
like yeah, if you ever want to access like there's different names and like processes because like I don't even know if my audience like interested in like knowing like because you have to like be interested in like the terms or like have some knowledge on the terms to not like
Yeah.
zone out. So yeah, definitely if you want to ask about that, you can ask about
I will. I
that.
will.
And I just want you to let the people know where they can follow you. Keep up with what you're doing.
JBaldwinArt on Instagram and my website. I don't really post or keep up with most other platforms. Again, you can follow Horizon's journey. I do when I do a newsletter, because
Yeah.
I only do the newsletter when there's something to share, right? Because
Okay.
every day, every month, there's something to share. I'm not trying to spam your inbox. But when I share artwork, I share some of the behind the scenes stuff, and I share the overall process of the journey and how it's affecting me emotionally and then obviously creatively. So head over to the website, fill out the form, and keep your eyes on the horizon.
Definitely. And thank you guys so much for joining in. For those that don't know what I do, well, long story, however long-winded. Promise it won't be too long-winded. But I'm AnimeInkArt. I started off, doing my art. Is traditional mixed with digital editing because I haven't gone completely to digital to create my own style. We are doing commissions again. If you want to do that, go to AnimeInkArt One. You'll see the store. You'll see the commissions. You'll see all the art portfolio. You'll see all of that. The Redbubble and the Shopify. So that's how we started. It's extended as a lot of brands do. You do different things sometimes. So therefore, I've always had a mission statement to support people in the blurred community as I kept doing what I was doing. And then I saw other creators. I started highlighting them on my page while I was doing my own content. That's helped me grow my network and my outreach. And I wanted to still give that back while doing what I'm doing. So there's part of my mission statement. That's why I still do, highlight people as much as possible. Therefore, that extended to AnimeInkArt Live Talks. So that's another part of the brand. So if you're interested in being part of the show, we have the form on the link tree and AnimeInkArt One, Instagram page. And for the show, we had our Into the Mind of the Blur creator like an in-person roundtable talk, but we're going to have a panel. It's like an extension of that in the panel form. It's going to be called AnimeInkArt Live Talks and an interactive podcast experience. Hopefully, I'll be able to talk about, like the deep topics in the community that we don't really get to talk about. I mentioned sometimes on the show as a question, but I don't really get to go into it. Hopefully, we can go into it together. That's the hope. That'll be at Capital City Anime Fest in Trenton, June 6th. And as well as we are an affiliate with Otaku Noir. There's series boxes coming out, so if you use code AnimeInkArt, you should get free shipping off of your order. You have until May 31st to pre-order that box. You don't want to miss out, just like you missed out on the first two boxes, because they only do it every quarter. And as well as we do work for Critical Care Comics. That's a volunteer organization where we give toys and comics to children in the hospital. You can be a hero, which means that you dress up as Marvel or DC characters. So if you like to cosplay, you can do that. You get to directly interact with the children, get smiles on their faces, and the agents like me, where I help out with the distributing the toys. We still see the children, but the heroes are the stars of the show in terms of like interacting with the children. There's a Las Vegas, New York, and South Carolina chapter. Where I'm part of the New York chapter. We're trying to expand. If you want to be part of New York Critical Care Comics in any capacity, feel free to go on their website. Either donate or sign up. You never know for the New York chapter. I might be the one interviewing you, because it's happened multiple times so far since I started last year. But if you're going to these specific conventions, we're trying to expand our reach to get more people to learn more about the organization within New York, because we need more people. If you went to CreativeCon and you saw Sumi the Bunny on Instagram, she's a cosplayer. She's also a hero. Hopefully you got to talk to her about it. She was, getting donations and everything like that. If you went to the AIDS Walk, there was a few members. Latin Nerd cosplayer, Kratos Olympian was there. If you're going to Forest Hill Comic Con, I will be there. A few members will be there as well. We have a table to talk about Critical Care Comics. That'll be in New York. And if you're going to AniTomoCon, that's kind of where I will be as well. That's July 18th. We'll also be helping out and trying to spread the good word of Critical Care Comics. So just follow for all the plethora of things that we're doing, and fun stuff to come. So definitely follow AnimeInkArt 1, and we have AnimeInkArt Live 1. Just like I don't use that many. I have TikTok, but I haven't been on it in a while. But we have Facebook as well. So definitely, if you want to tune in, definitely. And with that, we're signing out. Bye, guys.